Researchers Sean Feeney and Donnie Blessing recently visited with some residents of Bethel, Ohio to investigate their alleged UFO sightings. Mr. Robinson informed us that after leaving a friend's house on the night of October 26, 2004, he got into his Jeep and started home. Playing the radio and thinking about the events of the day, UFOs were the farthest thing from his mind. As Mark turned off State Route 125 onto a street near the end of town, Mark was thinking about spending a quiet evening at home. Mark commented to us on how bright the moon was shining that night. Suddenly, up ahead in the clear night sky, Mark saw what appeared to be two sets of bright lights. The large white lights were set diagonal to each other and seemed to be holding stationary in the sky. As Mark approached closer to the lights, he slowed down to get a better look. Mark kept his eyes on the lights for at least a full minute. Suddenly, the lights were gone. Mark says he does not know what happened to them. They did not move away, and since it was clear out, they could not have disappeared behind a cloud. What did Mark see that night? Mark claims that these lights were not from any known aircraft they had ever seen. Did the lights belong to an extraterrestrial craft? This has been Sean Feeney reporting.
For the past 26 years, Claremont County residents, Mr. and Mrs. Cronin, have lived here near Bethel, Ohio. Various accidents and stalled cars have happened right in front of their home. In a phone conversation a few weeks ago, Mrs. Cronin informed me that one of these times that something happened in front of her house, a gentleman came to the door the following day to explain that not only had his car broken down, several other cars had broken down, and he also went on to say that he had felt a strange force. As you're going to see from this report, that besides the strange accidents and the stalled automobiles, other things has been going on this property. Could there be a connection?
I just sort of noticed that something strange was happening. But one night I was looking out the window, and it was around 7 o'clock in the evening, and a car had gone off the road out in front of my house into the ditch. And I noticed there was another car behind it, and they seemed to stop. And that car had gone off into the ditch also. I tried to get my husband to take a look, but he was busy working, and I couldn't convince him that there was something really weird going on outside. As I looked outside, I was watching during the evening. I go to the window, and there were about 7 to 10 cars out there on the shoulder, and there were a bunch of people out there just talking amongst themselves. And the next day, a man came to the door. An older man. He said he was from Felicity, and he said he wanted to tell me about the incident, the accident in front of my house the night before. And he said that the first vehicle had gone off the road, and she had a broken tie rod. And the second vehicle came up. It was a man in a pickup truck, and he was slowing down to help her. And his car went off the road, and they found out that his tie rod had broken also. Then the other vehicles that stopped just stopped to help him. And he said that he felt that he needed to talk to me and tell me what had happened last night, that he had felt a force out there. And I just looked at him. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. And he just walked down the sidewalk and left. A couple of days later, I'd say 3 to 4 days later, I went down to get into my vehicle in my driveway, and it wouldn't start. It started, but it wouldn't run. And I had a friend come over to look at it, and they fixed it. He was a mechanic, and he said that it was really, really weird. It was really strange. He kept saying that over and over again. He didn't know anything about my home or the accidents here. And he said, your tie rod was broken. And I thought, oh, it was just really strange. He said it was really strange is that newer cars, which mine was, he said tie rods just don't break. One night I was walking down to the garage to get my dog, and I walked past my car, and my car was locked up tight. I walked past it, and I was going to pick my dog up, and the lights, the interior lights and the exterior lights went on. And I kind of thought that was weird. I walked past it and I thought, well, I better get my dog, because I can't believe that those lights would go on like that, because the car was locked and the keys were up at the house. And it was a fairly new vehicle. It was only 3 to 4 months old, so I knew there wasn't anything wrong with the car. So I went in and got my dog and went back up to the car. The lights were still on. I guess they were on for maybe 2 minutes. And as we walked up to the car, because I figured someone had to be in the car, the lights couldn't just go on like that. We walked up to the car and the lights went off. It's just been a constant round of accidents and incidents here. I always thought that maybe, alcohol was involved, but over the years, all of the accidents, the policemen have told me that there wasn't any alcohol involved. There was another incident with a truck. We had a truck in the driveway. And I got into the truck, and this truck was only a couple months old too. It was new too, and there wasn't anything wrong with it that we knew of. I got into the truck, started it, and then I had to get something out of the pump house, which was in front of the truck. And I got out and I walked in front of the truck, and all of a sudden the truck lurched forward a foot. And I turned around, it almost pinned me against the pump house. We installed new electric garage doors. The first 3 months, the garage doors would go up and down by themselves. We had 3 companies in to check them, and they said that it was weird. They couldn't figure out what it was. I would be up here in the kitchen and would look down at my driveway and see the garage doors going up and down as I looked at them. And they did this for about 3 months, and then it settled down and hasn't done it since. And it's been about 10, 15 years. They did, however, say that they thought perhaps a CB radio or somebody going by on the road could trigger the door and make it open, but we never really found out what was wrong.
One night in the storm, it wasn't really a bad storm, it was just wind, and I was standing on the front porch, and something went by the house. It came from out here, it went by, and I thought it was a big piece of sheet metal. It sounded like sheet metal. If you have a big piece of metal, when it's waving, it makes a certain sound. And there was lightning. I remember the lightning reflected off of it, and it just sort of disappeared. And I even called, the next morning, I even called a builder who's done some work at our house and told him to come out, because I said, I know there's got to be a panel missing off the barn. And I remember the guy's name was Ron. He came out, he called me that morning, and he said he walked up and down the back in front of the barn. There's not one piece of metal missing. And so then when I got home that night, we went out in the field across the street thinking, well, whatever flew by, it was only maybe 10 feet off the ground. It had to land in that field before the current house was there. And we walked that field, never did find anything. But I saw it and I heard it, and I know it was something.
I saw what looked like a white pyramid. It was coming over the treetop level. It was all white in the center. It had green and red flashing lights on the points of the triangle. It was a triangle. It looked like actually a Christmas tree, and it was around Christmas, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But it was treetop level, and it was moving in a sideways fashion, parallel to the trees out there, and it moved very slowly across the treetops, and then up a little more, and then all the way into that direction, and then disappeared. But it was slow enough, and it was completely silent. I saw, let's say 5 and 6 to begin with, and they were out there in that field. They were treetop level again, and they were white. They hovered, they hung in the air. Sometimes they would move around from left to right, then they'd stop. Then they would have, a couple of them had disc like that would shoot out from 2 of them and then shoot back and join that UFO, and it would become one. And they were like dancing around out there, and an airplane went by. I don't know if the airplane saw them or went right through them, and they just sat there. Then sometimes they would go over to the left and disappear, and one just kind of blinked out at one point. And so I knew I was looking at something that wasn't an airplane or a jet. I knew that they would know that I was watching them. I got my camera and I started to take pictures, and I couldn't get the camera to work. I kept hitting the thing and trying to get the flash to work, and nothing would work on my camera. So I was thinking, well, I had another camera and I got some shots, and I thought, well, no one's going to see anything with these shots, so I wish one of them would come over here. And all of a sudden one did start over, and what it looked like was a star coming over. It was white with like a pale yellow, and it started trailing over at a pretty good clip. And I thought, well, I got scared, so I started to run. And I kept looking back, and it kept coming. And I kept looking back, and it was coming overhead. Not up here, and it was still coming. I turned and looked. And at this point, my camera flash went off by itself. Here at this point, looking back at it, it came up right over here. And then something dropped down out of it. It was a disc.
Late October of last year, '04, we were watching TV, probably 9 or 9:15 one evening. It was dark out, and I was sitting right here, and there's a large window here looking to the north, and something caught the corner of my eye, and as I looked out the window, I saw a very bright orange streak, I guess I'll call it. And it wasn't moving real fast, but it wasn't moving real slow, but it was almost like just a real bright orange streak. And as I looked out and watched it and followed it, it just disappeared over the horizon. I never saw a puff of smoke or anything, but I just assumed that maybe something had landed there. And I thought maybe I'd read about it in a newspaper the next day, or maybe one of the neighbors would call or something, but nobody ever did, and I never did find out what it was.
Did Mr. Cronin see a UFO that evening, or was he merely the witness of a meteor breaking up in the atmosphere? Are the accidents and breakdowns near the property due to some unknown force, or are they just coincidences? Was Bethel, Ohio the scene of recent extraterrestrial visitation, or were these residents simply misinterpreting natural or man-made objects in the sky? This has been Sean Feeney and Donnie Blessing reporting.